Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Peter Igaga, and we are here tonight, back again at the home of sweetness. It is at the Kakira Estate in Jinja. Now, today is a very interesting day, and I'll tell you why. Not only is our topic extremely controversial, but we are lucky to have a doctor in the house who I share a name with. Peter, good to have you.
It's a big achievement.
P squared. You're in trouble. Now, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are going to talk about contraception. At what age should we introduce our young people, and this term children, to contraception? Is the age of 12, which is currently according to the WHO, is the recommended age? Is it right, or should we let them reach the age of Faisal over here, who is 18? Right? We'll let you be the judge.
Is it because mom not
yeah. It's for your own safety. Yeah. And you know, Faisal, we'll start with you. Contraception. All right. It's a very gray area. We know that a lot of young people are having sex, whether we like it or not. It is a fact.
Yeah.
Should we allow them to access contraception at the ages of 12?
Contraceptives. So, it's a very controversial topic, like you said, because in this case, in the community we are in, where we live, we literally, our lives revolve around culture, religion, and morals. Yeah. So when you talk about things like contraceptives and nature, Christian, you know, things like fornication will come into talk. Like, hey, so are you trying to say you're okay with your kids running around fornicating with whoever they may please? Or culture. Yeah, some people have this whole, you have to be married before you do anything like that. Get a man, introduce him, kuchala, and then have sex. Yeah, and to do all those things, I mean, you can't do them at 13, 14 or 15. Yeah, so, and also morally, because a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old, if they're having sex, if the people having sex are both the same age, morally it's wrong, but under the law, I don't even know how they treat it. I think it's illegal.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Before we get to the legal part of it, and I think we'd like to hear from you, Peter. At what age is, especially the girls, is a human body ready?
Medically, human body ideally is ready for sex around the age of 18, because all girls mature differently. The big issue we are going to have, if a lady gets pregnant before she has reached the age of 18, you'll find that her bones are usually narrow and the baby may not be able to pass, so you're going to get further complications. That is the ideal thing. So from 18 and above, someone is able to conceive normally.
So we should not give them, so we should not be giving 12-year-olds contraceptives.
How? Contraceptives are going to stop them from giving birth. And eliminate the whole. Yes, because you heard what he said. He said you get pregnant.
Doctor should clarify between being biologically ready to have sex and being medically ready to have children. Birth, The two are different. The kids can enjoy the sex, 15, 14, 16. But if it's a girl, biologically, medically, they are not ready enough to have a child. And I think that's where the issue of contraception comes in. Because contraception is all about either preventing or delaying pregnancy. Okay? So yes, it's about either preventing or delaying.
You see, it's a bit of a challenge, because you are going to have two perspectives. You're going to have to deal with something called age of consent. Ideally, when can someone have sex without getting into a legal perspective? In Uganda, ideally that age is 18 years. In other countries abroad, it is 16 years. So how do you start giving contraceptives to children who have not reached the age of onset?
Okay, let me rebuttal that. You know, the reality, and today I want to represent the girl child. The reality is that
Yeah, they are to represent the girls. The reality is that girls are having sex, whether we want to agree with it or not. They're having sex at a very young age. And for the longest time, policymakers keep saying that, you know what? Abstain, abstain, do that. And it's not working. Kids are having sex, whether you like it or not. What we need to hear from this forum or this platform is that provide safer places for these kids to have contraceptives. They're having sex. As young as 12, as young as 11, they're having sex. You know, for the longest time, sex is determined by a man. They're the ones who determine whether to use condoms and whatnot. Not true. Yeah, it is the truth. Let's be honest. If you bring a condom to the picture, to sex, if you decide today that I'm not having this sex without a condom, you'll not have sex without a condom. But if a woman can determine whether to have sex with a condom or not,
can I tell you about that where I say you are wrong? Do you know, and I'll take it from a man's perspective, if a woman tells a man, I am sorry, you're not going to have sex until you get a condom, that guy will run out in the middle of the night, go looking for it. If a man tells a woman, I am sorry, we are not going to have sex until you get me a condom.
But how many, you know, you're basing your argument from a very small percentage. Most of the time, sex is determined by a man. How are you going to have it?
Yeah, you see,
what are you going to use?
This man, what we are not explaining is that I think mostly in the Ugandan society, the man is too impatient to wait for the woman to say yes. Actually, the man pushes the woman to say yes. When the woman, that's why when we were growing up, they'll say, when the woman says no, actually she's saying yes in terms of sex. So you ask her, can we? She says, but no, but wait. So for us, we think she has said yes. So we go ahead. Actually, we are violating. I don't want to call it the rights. We are violating their bodies because they haven't said yes. Now, we are beginning to come into a space, especially among the educated girls, where they can say no openly, and they know the capital letters no. Yeah. However, when we come to this issue of using contraception, giving it to teenagers and young people, to add on what Dr. Peter said, I want to argue what we call liberals. You know, and he will agree with me, the biggest percentage of the Ugandan health sector budget is donor funded. Yes. And when it's donor funded, we are implementing donor programs. Yes. So if in the US or in Europe, where we get this money from, they are giving contraceptives, they will also come and tell us to give them. Yes. So this is an argument which is going around. And so because of this, then our good doctors become confused because the laws of Uganda say, yes, the laws of Uganda say give at 18. Yeah. But the programs somehow silently are saying, well, if a girl comes, give them. Now, I want to, just a minute, I want to add to what Jalo said. I happen to work partly in the health sector, and doctor will also agree with me. When you go to the maternity ward, most girls who have come to give birth, just at the age of 18, 19. Actually, most of those are underage. They are just trying to protect the men who made them pregnant. So they will come and say, me, I'm 18, me, I'm 19. Because we don't track them from birth, our registration system doesn't track them from birth. So the reality is, these children are having sex.
These days, the teenagers get involved in sex very early. At least by the age of 15 would be quite appropriate. They should, especially the girls, by age 16, they should be able to access contraceptives. And that's, you know, they're already having their periods and they're able to conceive. We have had teenager pregnancies because of them not accessing the early contraception.
You know, I want to come from the backdrop of what I was saying, and I say that sex is determined by a man. Let me give you a very good example. When a woman carries condoms, what is the perception? What is the societal perception? This is a prostitute. This is a hoe. But you know, for the longest time, you sleep around, you're patted on the back. You know, how did you do that? a woman sleeps around, you know, you are regarded less in the society. When you make a woman pregnant at that age, her life is set on that basis. Like, she cannot go to school. Everything is like, is that basic. So it is, we need to talk, we need to, contraceptives are very important, and women and young girls need to, policymakers need to come up with policies that make young girls able and comfortable to enter these places and, you know, and get contraceptives without being judged.
But, you know, let's do not make the topic revolve around girls, because this is all over. Like, boys are young, they're young boys, and I mean, the girls are not having sex with each other. The girls are not having sex with each other. Yes, under contraceptives, it's easier to implement from the man's standing point of view, from the male standing point of view. I want to just add on what Banji said, because the population statistics of Uganda, yeah, the laws that were put there before applied to, you know, back then, because we have this constant issue where we're using laws and policies of conditions that existed in the past. Right now, as I speak, 48.7% of Uganda is between the age of 0 and 14 years. 0 and 14 years. That's literally half the entire country. So if you try and tell me, you know, I'm not going to tell the 13, 14, year-olds about contraceptives, you've literally ignored half the entire country. And these people are active, they have nothing to do, they have no job, they just go home, sit.
But I mean, you know, how about we get from an educative point of view? You know, we've always been talking about prevention being better than cure. Yeah. So isn't this one of those situations?
Where prevention is better than cure?
Yeah.
Well, why put all your eggs in one basket?
I want to give you two examples. First of all, we have the legal framework which says start from 18. But in my work experience, you're going to get someone who is maybe 14, 15 years. She's going to come to you pregnant. She will come to deliver. And some of them, because they are worried of their parents, they decide to abort this baby. In the process of aborting, they know abortion is illegal. So they are not going to come to the health facilities which can be able to do it, but because of the legal framework, we are not allowed to do an abortion unless there is a legal medical reason, where either the mother's life is at stake or the baby's life is at stake. So this creates a challenge. You have criminal abortions, which are very unsafe. The mother can end up losing her life, the young girl. And then number two, if she doesn't lose her life, during the procedure, they may perforate the uterus, and then the whole uterus has to come out. And then she becomes barren for life. So it is a bit hard because of that aspect. Most of these girls, they are going to abort these babies in unsafe places.
But also, Igaga, I think we are missing something. Sometimes I have always rooted my arguments in the African context. Do you know that the typically traditional people believe that you can do something and your daughter doesn't become pregnant until you, the parents, want it to happen? You do some magic. I don't know the scientific truth about it, but I've had women advising others, mothers, that please do something. They call it what? Tying. Tie your daughter so that she doesn't become pregnant. And for me, I want to expand the issue of contraception.
Now, I'm going to have to go into a break, and as soon as we come back, you'll have to help us untie that knot. Now, we are here at the home of sweetness, which is Kakira Estate, and we are talking about at what age should children get introduced to contraceptives. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back from the break. In case you've just joined us, we are here at the Kakira Estate talking about the age at which young people should be introduced to contraceptives. Should we act like they are not having sex, just as Faisal has said, or should we give them a platform to protect themselves? Now, Banji, you were talking about tying knots from here.
Yes. You know, when we talk about contraception use among teenagers, They are really, it's really a tricky thing because according to the health policy, and for them they are talking about people from 18, 19, 20. But the practicing doctors, as Peter has just said, you will get people who are 14, 15, 16, and they also need these services. So what do we do? Probably then we should, as a country, we should try and devise our own means, legitimate means. What if we promoted abstinence as a contraceptive method?
It does not work.
Yeah,
it doesn't work.
Let me develop my argument.
Abstinence doesn't work.
Yes, it may not work in 10 out of 10, but it might work in 2 out of 10. And you see, something you gain is better than something you lose.
Let me say something. Let me just rebuttal that because before I lose my chain of thought.
You see, there's my indigenous knowledge.
I don't want to lose my chain of thought. The reason why we're having all these problems is because there's a generational gap of policymakers and the teenagers.
But we actually are facing a problem where we've got an exploding population.
Listen, one thing that we're not exploiting is that times have changed. Times have changed. We have social media right now. Your young guy there is introduced to sex at a very young age. We have said since time immemorial, we have preached abstinence. It is not working. Why can we put the control of sex in the hands of that young girl? Because she's the one who's being affected. Let her decide if I want to get this kid. Let her decide if this is going to happen.
This is a child.
You say, no, they're having sex. They're having sex.
You see, that's the argument.
But they cannot. They're too young to make that decision.
First of all,
why is it that we congratulate teens when they do they make a story? There's a story on BBC. There's this guy, 15, 16. He has graduated MIT. The guy is too sharp. Yeah, because teenagers right now are doing big people things. Teenagers right now, teenagers in China are coding stuff 30-year-olds are just learning to do in Uganda. So that's what I'm saying. We might sit here and say, teenagers, they're young, they can't think, but there are teenagers out there who are exceptional.
So are you saying we should let them go for it? Let's give them the contraception.
All I'm saying is, it's something you cannot hide from them. Yeah, it's what we talk about. I'm a 90s kid. This is what we used to talk about then in school. P7, S1, S2. You're talking about this movie, that's Halle Berry, and this happened. No. Wait, keep quiet. So what I'm trying to say is, parents will never know what their kid is up to. Parents of this generation, because there's a huge generational gap. They will, Peter, even you, I'm sure sometimes your daughter does something and you're like, wow, I didn't know she could do that. Yeah. So if you stay there and you treat your child like the halo you see in them, I won't tell them about condoms because they're what, 13? But
Faisal, just because I want to pick up on what you had started saying before this gentleman cut you off, rudely cut you off, man. What about what Banji is saying? Why don't we, I'll give you a simple example. I have a problem with people, or with us putting bumps on the road at trading centers. I say, why don't we teach our people how to cross the road rather than stopping the cars from knocking them over? Okay, because the reality is nowadays we are not teaching kids in school how to cross roads, and that's why the people are getting killed. So how about we teach our children to abstain? Because the reality is, if you don't have sex, you will not die.
That's what they teach them in school, at church. That's what they've been doing. Listen, all my life during primary school, all my life during primary school, that's what they kept on telling us. Because it was teenage pregnancies were like this. Today you're seated, tomorrow they tell you, oh, the girl who was sitting next to you, they took her to the, to the nurse and there's something wrong. She's either pregnant or she has just discovered that period, and this was P7. And in third term, I remember they brought some people and they taught us how to, like a condom, to dress it on a banana. And this is back then, 2000, 2001, something like that. Yeah, and now we are in 2019. Yes, and now we are in 2019. Having this same discussion that a UPE school, Nakasero Primary School, already did in 2000. So that shows you the urgency. These guys, they know, the teachers in school, they know kids are having sex. However much you tell them abstain, abstain, they know they are still going to go through.
Now, in my times, most of the girls spent as much time as possible with their mothers, or with their elder sisters, or with their aunties. Yep. It was not an imposition, but it was a discussion in which they would be made aware that being pregnant when you are still young had consequences, a lot of social consequences. So probably in telling them, they may have not told them actually to abstain, but in sharing with them some of these issues, the girls grew wiser. So if we present this contraception, you know, now I want to talk like a parent. If we present these materials to our daughters and sons in their teen years, 13, 14, 15, it's like we are giving them a license to go and shoot.
You're giving them the weapon.
Yes. So for me, I am advocating for let us preach abstinence. Let us preach wait until you are 18. You know, if you have a daughter,
because
sit them down.
You are
now, some, you know, when you sieve juice, some particles remain up, some particles go down. This is nature.
Additionally, you say our parents used to be very strict. There's that close community where the child is properly monitored. It's monitored by the parents, and the community they're in. But these days, because of the schools and the influence from other surroundings, they're exposed to other influences very easily compared to the past, compared to our old tradition, where you find family planning was natural, that at least you find someone gets involved in the sexual activities by the time when they are mature. Rarely was it possible that by 18 they are involved in the sex, but now, by the time when they reach 18, they already experienced.
If I'm driving a taxi and there are no seat belts, I am not going to say, you know, let me drive carefully because there are no seat belts in this car. No. The guy will still drive it like there are seat belts. But the manufacturer of the car will put a safety precaution and be like, you know what? I know there are very many stupid people outside there buying cars. Let me put the seat belt, let me put the airbag. Why? Because they know however much you go through a driving school and get a driving permit and do all those things, you will want at a point in time be reckless and you do something.
One thing, he was preaching about abstinence, but that song has been preached for some good time.
Yes, in church.
So over 20 years it has been preached. Yeah? And
you don't know how to preach it.
But you want
and now
to preach like
we have seen over the past few years there's been a rise in the number of teenage pregnancies.
Yes.
So the policymakers have to sit down and ask themselves, why is this happening? The current situation now is not the same situation we had 40 years ago, whereby everyone was taught this is how a lady is supposed to behave, and that kind of protects them to reach the time when they're mature. But in this current age, there's too much technology, people are exposed. So the first issue, the first policy which has to be changed is, when should sex education be given?
Yeah.
Because that is the first thing.
In fact, it's not about when should it be given.
What age?
Typical sex education is not the job of government. And I want to be very serious here. To the parents, it's my job as a father to begin giving it to my daughter, my son, as they progress. You know, some of the things I know about sex probably, I had them from my mzee at different stages. As he observed me growing, doing certain things, he sat me down and said, you do this, you get this. You do this, you get this. Okay? Let me tell you one thing. When I was in senior 3, I fell in love with a girl on the neighborhood. And then my father asked me, if you get married, you will get out of school. If you continue studying, you leave the girl alone. So you make a choice, and it gives you the pros and cons of each of these things. I don't know whether that is what works, but I promised the girl that let me first finish senior 4, then things shall work out. By the time I finished senior 4, she was taken. Yeah. Probably I would have gotten out of school and married her. Now, we also know that times have changed, and also because of the way now children feed and the lifestyle they live, they grow, their maturity is faster. Yeah. So therefore we also need to get evidence from the medical personnel. Yeah. At what age should we give these?
But I'll tell you what.
These contraceptives, we may lower from 18 and come to 16, probably 15.
I'll tell you what my problem is with this whole contraception issue. Are we then saying we have given up? We've talked about sex education. Sex education begins with the parents. How many parents are sitting down and talking to their teens about it and telling them, and like you said, you're given a choice and shown the pros and the cons. I'll give you a simple example. When I was growing up, my father never talked to me about sex. Okay. The best he did for my brother and I was when this Philly Lutaya documentary came on.
Yeah, the AIDS
yes. He said, you boys watch it. If you continue playing the way you are playing, this is what will happen to you. That was it, okay. But there was no education. Now, are we running away from our responsibilities and saying, okay, you know what? Give them the contraceptives. We've done our part.
No, we are not. No, we are not running away from the contraceptive. No, the reality is, things have changed. Like me, I see my dad twice a year. When is he going to sit me down to talk about sex? All through. No. Even when I actually saw him less when I was younger. Yeah. And when was he ever going to get that time to come sit and be like, oh, by the way, Faisal, sex is like this and nothing. The best advice I ever had was from my mom, who sat me, and I don't even stay with my mom, but she just phone call. You know, there's this thing called sex, and now you're in S2. They told me you have a relationship. No. There's this and this and this. So parents are not that attached to children anymore. Some of these parents work abroad. You're not seeing your child.
Now, we do need to get into a break. We are here at Kakira Estate, the home of sweetness, talking about contraceptives and teens. Are you the kind of parent who's not talking to your teen and telling them about contraceptives? We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back from the break. In case you've just joined us, we are here at Kakira Estate, the home of sweetness. Now, are some of these things a bit too sweet for these teenagers? Well, I'm going to leave that one to you. Now, guys, I know the children, rather the teens, are being exposed to a lot, okay, through the internet. I do not agree with you, Peter, that parents are too busy to explain to their kids. I mean, come on. On the average, what is the time do people leave bars? Guys are leaving bars 3, 4 in the morning, okay. So we've got time to go to bars, but we don't have but we don't have time to talk to our kids. Yes, so go home, see your kids. When they are going to sleep, go to the bar.
And that's what he said.
I can tell you one fact. Yeah? Most children right now, they may not even be seeing their fathers, because the father, he comes home late when the child is sleeping, and before the child wakes up,
he goes
he's going out to go and work.
But time is created. It's unfortunate that Chris is not here. One of the things I agree with Chris is he said, love is time. If you cannot say, I am too busy to create time for my children, but I love them. So it's okay, let me give them contraceptives and let them sort themselves out.
No, we're not saying give them contraceptives, Peter. We are saying,
our challenge is,
we are saying avail
sex education.
All information. Give them all the options.
The ideal situation is inform the teens about sex, and the outcomes of sex, what can happen.
Then give them contraceptives.
Offer them the information.
Everything. Tell them everything.
How to prevent pregnancies and STDs and HIV. Okay? And then, if still you've given them that information, they still said they still want to have sex, then offer them the contraceptive.
In fact, let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Just one point. Let me tell you why what he's saying is very important. The first time I watched porn, I was 7 years old. 7. P6. That's around P6, P5. No, listen. And it's not like I bought the tape or anything. I just walking around from school that day. I was bored. I saw a Chivanda. Everyone was, on the window. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just go see what's up. So I also go, I peep. I'm like, what time is it? Friday, 5 p.m. So every Friday, 5 p.m.
You were there.
I would know where to go. Now, see the danger you're bringing. So if I go home, yeah, and there were no adverts about the guy who had AIDS, the musician, Philly Lutaya, and those videos weren't playing on TV or on radio, I'd be dead. I'd literally, because I would not know what sex is about. Because you see, people are watching porn as early as 5. And this was in the 90s. So imagine what's happening right now in 2019.
No,
yeah, and in these movies, they don't talk about contraceptives. They don't talk about HIV. Yeah. These are things you're supposed to tell your child now, and you're like, by the way, you know what? I don't know whether you watch porn or not, but if you ever feel like you're going to do something, don't kill me, bringing me a kid, 13 years old, you get a girl pregnant, there's a condom, there's this, and also if you're poor, don't do anything, just abstain completely.
But you see, Faizo, just a minute before you come in. I want to put the Ugandan population in 3 categories. There were the people who lived in Uganda before 1980. These guys enjoyed sex life. Probably apart from gonorrhea and syphilis. They had a blast. These were treatable diseases. There is a generation of us, me and you, Igaga, I think around that generation. 1980 to around early 2000, HIV was at its peak. If you ask most of the people in that generation, they know the price of a condom. Because their peers, their fathers told them the only way you will enjoy sex is by using a condom. The age of the Pfizers, because there is a treatment for HIV, there is ACT, they know. In fact, the girls in their generation fear pregnancy more than AIDS. Okay, so these are different generations. Now, the second other fundamental aspect is about the way children are growing up. Okay, the spaces in which they are growing up. Urban areas, parents in urban areas have much less control over their children than parents in rural areas. So and I think the doctor will agree that most of these teenage pregnancies, in rural areas they are there, but they are more pronounced in urban areas.
That's what rural areas are worse.
No.
Okay, from my experience, it's worse in rural areas.
Yeah, it's worse in rural areas.
There are some rural areas, which we call rural areas, but actually they are kind of urban because of the population, urban-rural. Yeah. And there is a lot of interface between rural and urban settings because the towns are close to each other and there are so many opportunities in these towns. So it becomes a very big challenge. So, I believe by allowing these children and to expose them all these contraceptive methods, we are actually giving them a license to roam, to explore. The message should be that yes, sex is good, sex is sweeter than even sugar by the way.
But it's not getting finished.
But it will not get finished. Even when you are 90, you will enjoy it. The good sex is the one when you are of age, 18, 19, 20.
Have you ever had an STI?
That message. Huh?
You heard me very well.
He has, but he has. He's second guess.
This is going to have to be your party.
No, let me say this. Okay. We live in this. I'm talking about religious conditioning, and I think I've talked about it somewhere. We have been conditioned to always run to God whenever something goes wrong. And people will argue that it's good, there's nothing wrong with it. But when a policy fails, when you keep emphasizing on something and it fails, please do something else. What I'm advocating here on this platform is that And I'm not advocating for the young girl, because whether we like it or not, it always affects the young girl. Provide safe places where young girls can control sex. They can enter into a pharmacy without being judged and ask for a condom, or ask a teenager, because they are having it. You know, we have been preaching abstinence, but it's not working. And it's getting worse. Policymakers should, you know, change the policies. Simple as that.
Okay. Banji, your party choice.
I want to disagree. Abstinence, it's not that abstinence is not working. Otherwise, all the teenagers would be pregnant. It is working. Now, you must also accept that the population is growing. So, if 1% are not abstaining, it will appear as if it is a bigger population.
1%.
For me, what I am preaching,
1% of a million, and 1%
because 1% of a million and 1% of 20 million.
He was born at 7 years.
Is different. That's what I was telling you. Now, for me,
It's not an accomplishment.
my parting shot would be that as a parent, the duty starts with you. What education do you give your child, your teenager? The message should be, sex is good, sex is sweet, but sex is always there at 20, at 30, at 50, at 60. And actually, the consequences of sex are lesser if you are mature than when you are.
I have a question before.
So,
I have a question. I have a question before you go.
You're asking
So
the
what do you
next
tell?
episode.
What do you tell the kids that are having sex?
Stop.
Stop having sex! Why are you having sex?
Your
What
party
do you
shot.
tell the kids that are having
Your
sex?
party shot. You're out of time, so your party shot.
My parting shot is basically, people have been preaching abstinence. We have to go back to the drawing board and see where the problem is, right? From sex education up to the legal things of when can we give these teenagers contraception. So the government has to look at that policy. Otherwise, we are having so many teenage pregnancies. If you look at the past 10 years, it has been gradually increasing. Abstinence has been preached. There is a problem, and that is why these advanced countries are even lowering their age to 16 to 12. That is my parting shot.
Well, they will think of that you're encouraging immorality, but really to prevent early pregnancy with its complications. You know, the school dropout because of the early pregnancy, and then the physical complication, medical complication, gynecological complication to the child who is not yet mature. Contracted pelvis, they end up having ruptured uterus, and it may end up in death. They may end up having what we call VVF, that is leakage of the urine thereafter. You know, those ones will not come in if this girl was put on contraception.
My parting shot is I read a story. It was from December 2012, Philadelphia, it's in the US. So this city had 22 high schools. They installed condom dispensers in. You can Google it, high schools. Why did they install condom dispensers in? Because STDs were everywhere. Like there's an STD epidemic in the city. This is 2012. And which cities are curbing population? America. How are they curbing it? This is what they are doing by literally coming to the children, and they're like, you know what? Let me tell you, no parent will always know what their child is up to 24/7. It is impossible. I have been there before. There's just that other life that you have that no one in the house will know about. Apart from, you know, let's say the maid or something. I don't know. My partition, I'm not yet done, guys. I'm not yet done. Okay. But what I'm trying to say is, I'm not saying hand out the condoms like they did in Philadelphia, but avail this information, because if you do not avail this information, kids are going to die. I was 7. I watched porn. If I didn't have this information, I'd literally be a dad by now. Because you see, one is not going to teach you that after that the babe gets pregnant and, you know, she drops out of school, you drop out, they chase you away from home. They don't. It's parents to tell you, But parents, it's not enough, because kids at that age do not listen to their parents. They don't. They would rather see it in a movie and they're like, oh, yeah, they're right. And they remember it.
All right, great stuff. Now, you've heard it from the men about whether we should give our teens contraception or not. Good thing is, actually, I agree with you. Let's just find ways of communicating to our kids through movies and everything to abstain. With that, yes, we're not giving them contraception. With that, we do have to close the show. We are here at the famous Kakira Estate in Ginger, enjoying a pretty hot night about contraception. Have a good night. God bless. And don't forget, this is your show. We want to hear from you. Let's keep this discussion going on social media. Have a good night.